This is a quick tutorial in how to create a drop-down menu for your desktop prototype. We already watched how to create a mobile menu. So this is more about how to insert this sort of menu. To show and demonstrate what we are trying to do, I created, as usual, an example of the kind of animation interaction finish, just to demonstrate visually what we are trying to achieve. So I'm going to do quick preview, and then I'm going to do, yep. So this is very simple, okay? I want to create this drop down menu, and I also want the menu to be fixed at the top, which we already covered in a previous tutorial, but I will demonstrate again today. So I'm going to come back to the page where I had the drop-down menu has been generated. And let's say, for example, that I want it to look like this. Okay. The first thing is to convert this in a component. Just a reminder, it's good to have the components in a different frame. So I'm going to create one frame just to component, and I'm going to create a desktop sort of frame, so it has similar, yeah, like that. So I'm dragging out, copy and paste, or move it to this page as well, to this new page that I created, and I'm going to call it components, just to know and identify this frame better. And then we have this element here. So the first thing that I want to do is to convert this element as a component. And you can tick in here in the properties panel to the right, or you can right click in your mouse and create a component, either way. So I am going to convert it to a component, and it just, okay, it's purple now, so that means that it's a component. So okay, so this is the initial state of the drop down menu. What I want to do is to create a variant where I am going to work on the hover element, on the other different variant for that element. And I'm going to kind of modify it in a way that I want it to look like. So I'm going to take the little arrow, and I'm going to say 180. So I'm going to just rotate it. That's the first thing that I want to choose. So that way, this element will indicate that there is a menu, some kind of a visual cue, and this is like the way it is open, and now this indicates that it's going to be closed. If you notice, these two headings, this text with the arrow is already inside a frame, so I have a better control for that. Okay, so now I want to create the other items from the menu, and I'm going to duplicate this one. So select the frame, the container, which is the variant 2, and it should have already, yeah, so it has an auto layout, and it indicates that the auto layout is vertical, no horizontal. Okay, that's an important bit. So let's double check that. I also want the width of the menu to adjust to the container. So I say hawk contents, the width, hawk contents in the high. And yep, so I'm ready to go. So I'm going to duplicate it. So Command D. Okay, good. And I do not need this arrow everywhere, so I'm going to delete the arrow. And I'm going to expand the size of the component element sort of thing, because it's just automatically created based on the initial one. And yep, page 1. And then I'm going to duplicate it as well, as many times as I want. So I'm going to duplicate it, let's say 4 times. And then I'm just going to say page 2, page 3, and page 4. It's fine. Obviously you can change the look of this if you want it to look different, or also you can change somehow change the color of this to indicate that there is something different, or you can add a line. So obviously this area is whatever is going to happen when I roll over the heading. So I'm going to leave it simple like this. Okay, so now I have the initial state, and I also have the end state, the final state. So now I just basically have to create interaction, and I wanted to work on this component because it does demonstrate a different way to add interaction, and you will know what I mean soon. So I select the heading, I add interactions right here, and I say, when we want the element to hover, we normally select while hovering, and I want you to see what happens if I say while hovering, okay? And then the action is change to, because it's a component, it's not going to a different page, it's basically replacing the element. And then the property will be, let's go to variant 2 and smart animate. And yeah, let's try that. Okay, and first, before inserting on the page, I just want to see if it works. And the best way to see if this actually works is going to the assets, make sure that is the page. I mean, because this also I already have another component created. So the best way to find it is to, okay, this is the drop down page inside the component frame. It's kind of telling me where it is, and I'm going to drag it. Okay, that's how you insert a component. Okay, so now I'm going to do a quick preview of this frame to see if it's working or not. So let's have a look. And okay, but did you see what happens? As soon as I try to link on any of these, it just kind of disappear, and that's not going to work, because if I want to go to page 2, there is no way I can do it. And this is what I wanted to show you here. The reason why that's happening is because when I click on hover and I say while hover, what is telling Figma is to say this should change as long as the mouse is hovering in this element. So basically, as soon as this mouse leaves this area, it just comes back to the initial state. And that's not exactly what we want. So I'm going to change, for this specific case, you say on mouse enter, which means this is going to work as soon as the mouse enters the area. And it will stay like that while it's in the area. So I keep change to, variant 2, and let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to go here, I'm going to click preview again. And let's see. So do you see? Okay, yep, this is working, but now I have the problem that it stays forever, because there is no command telling me to come back to the initial state. So okay, so what do we do in that case? I select the second variant, and I have to add an interaction as well. So I say an interaction and say, when mouse leave this area, change to, and go by default. So it's basically, this is the command to come back to the previous one. And smart animate. Okay, let's try it again. And then okay, yep, I can click on any element, and when I leave, it just comes back. So that's exactly what I'm after, what I want. Okay, now I do have this element, and now I want to incorporate, replace this one. So you can either copy or cut, select this element, and say I want to replace this element for this one. So basically it does with space to replace. That's the easiest way. So it doesn't modify anything, it just basically replace the previous one. Now you'll see what happens. Okay, now it's here. Let's see if it works. So I'm clicking preview. I will see. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's not what it hides away. So this is the reason why what this happens is because the fix is not there and the hover is not there. There are certain things that do not work well while there is a smart anime auto layout implemented. And there is one of the systems when auto layout is quite helpful to actually make everything look neat and organized, but now I don't need it anymore. So I can tick out auto layout, okay? And I'm going to click preview and let's see. This is going to frustrate you a little bit. Okay, this is still happening. This is annoying. One of the things, and I'm going to bring it back to the way it was. I'm going to tick out of this auto layout again, and I want to pay attention to the layers. Okay, in auto, and I do not know why this happened, but that's just what happens, and it's going to confuse you. When you create auto layout, the order of the layers kind of mirror this area. So as you can see, header is there, hero, panel, etc. It's kind of replicating this. And if I change this, that will be reflected on the layout. Okay. When I untick auto layout, instead of keeping the order as it was, what it does is to move the header. You see the header? Move it to the very, very back of the container. And that's a bit annoying. I do not know why that happens, but that's what happens. And it will happen. It will happen to you. So I have to move this element at the top. I drag the layer. And let's see. Okay. And this is the thing with many of the tutorials around. They just don't touch these little things. Okay, that's exactly what I want, but it's not fixed. I want this element to be fixed. The fix top is in prototype as well, and it's under overflow, so it says fixed, stay in place. And then done. Just bear in mind that fix doesn't work with auto layout either. It just doesn't work either. So this is the sort of thing that if you want this sort of effect, you untick the auto layout and that make it work. So that's it. One of the things that I like to have, I like the components sometimes to be on the same page, is because I can, if I have a menu, I can already add the links to the pages. So let's say I have page 2, I have page 3, and I have page 4. And I change the names so I can see when it's changing, because otherwise it's going to look very similar. So I can select page 1, prototype, interaction, and I'm going to see on click, navigate to, and I say page 1. Okay, that's not going to, I'm going to select this one, interaction, on click, navigate to, page 2, and so on. So then when I insert the component, the links are already in here, which means that you have a better control of the links. When the component is in a different page, like when I mean a page, I mean these sort of pages according to Figma, you cannot change the links. And yeah, and I don't like that. So that's why that's my habit. That's the way I organize the component. I try to keep it. If they are linked, it's better. It's good to keep it on the same page. For me, that works for me. Everybody can have a different way to work. I see that many professionals, what they really do is to have the components on a different page, but none of those components can be linked. And yeah, and I like to have that sort of control in here. So that's the reason you organize the way you want it to organize. And then obviously you can select this element as well and copy and paste in all the pages, or just basically it's easier to even make this with the link already working, you can also make it a component. So that way you have a better like a central control of this navigation as well. So you can also control the links or control the way it looks as well, and just select this element even though it doesn't have interaction, and paste to replace. And I'm going to see. Okay. And this is a bit too large here. It's okay. And that's so on. So you basically, oh yeah, and I can just select the whole header and paste to replace. And paste to replace. So that way all the navigation is on every page. However, if I'm page 2, you see, if it doesn't have the auto layout, then it will work. See page 2. Heading, page 1, heading, page 2. Okay. So that way you can also, link this element and have a little bit of more control to that. So anyway, that's how you implement it. That's how you create a drop down menu, and how you can implement it in your layouts and the things that you need to be kind of aware of. I hope this helped. And if you are not using it, obviously this doesn't apply to you, but that's one of the things that I wanted to show you. Okay, thank you guys. Hope this helped. Bye now.